You're alone in a mountain cabin, curtains drawn, the sun almost gone. A movie plays quietly behind you. Then, a small red light appears at the window. You step closer. Slowly, you reach for the curtain. But it isn't a light. It's an eye. And whatever it belongs to has been watching you from the other side of the glass. Tonight, we're going deep into the Appalachian Mountains, where the oldest warnings are rarely explained, and where ignoring one simple rule can bring something home with you. Welcome to the podcast You Can't Unhear. Before we begin, this is a fictional story inspired by Appalachian folklore. The region has a long tradition of ghost stories, superstition, strange creatures, and warnings passed between generations. But the list of Appalachian rules found on social media today is not one single ancient tradition. Some rules come from genuine regional beliefs. Others have been adapted, combined, or invented by modern storytellers. Still, people who grow up near these mountains will often tell you the same thing. You don't need to believe every story. You only need to know when the mountains are telling you to leave. Marlin had driven from Madison, Wisconsin, to a remote cabin near Jonas Ridge, North Carolina. The trip was personal. Her grandmother had grown up near Morganton before leaving the mountains as a young woman. She rarely spoke about her childhood, but whenever Marlin asked about Appalachia, her grandmother gave warnings instead of stories. Never whistle in the mountains. Close the curtains before dark. If the woods call your name... No, they didn't. And if an animal begins behaving like something other than an animal, leave. Marlin had always assumed these were simply old superstitions, the kind grandparents used to keep children from wandering too far. Now that her grandmother was gone, she wanted to understand where they had come from. The cabin looked exactly like the listing. Rustic outside, bright and carefully decorated inside. High wooden ceilings, a stone fireplace, large windows facing a valley packed with trees. It was isolated enough to feel peaceful, but not so isolated that Marlin felt unsafe. At least, not during daylight. On the drive up, she played her grandmother's favourite song, Coat of Many Colours by Dolly Parton. As the road curved higher into the mountains, Marlin began humming. Then, without noticing, she started to whistle. The melody echoed softly inside the car. A few seconds later, she passed a small cemetery beside the road. The wooden sign was faded. Several stones leaned toward the trees. That was when she remembered her grandmother's warning. Never whistle in the mountains. Marlin stopped immediately, then laughed at herself. She was inside a locked car. It was still daylight, and even if something had heard her, surely it couldn't follow a moving vehicle. When she arrived, Marlin carried her bags inside and flipped the welcome mat upside down. That had been another one of her grandmother's rules. Never leave the word welcome facing outward after sunset. Marlin didn't know what the mat was supposedly inviting, but turning it over required little effort. So she did it. She opened several windows, let the cool air enter, then lay down for what she intended to be a 10-minute rest. When she woke, the room had changed. The sunlight was lower. Long shadows crossed the floor. It was too late for a proper hike, but there was still enough daylight for a short walk. She grabbed her notebook, pulled on her boots, and followed a narrow trail toward a creek. She found a flat rock beside the water and began sketching. The forest felt quiet, but not empty. Branches shifted overhead. Water moved over stones. Every few minutes, something rustled beyond the trees. Then, a bright red cardinal appeared. It landed near the creek, hopped twice, and dipped its head toward the water. Marlin smiled and began drawing, but the cardinal didn't lift its head. Its beak remained submerged. Then its entire face. Marlin lowered her pencil. The bird stood perfectly still, its head beneath the surface, while the current pressed against its neck. "Hey," Marlin clapped once. The cardinal didn't react. She threw a small pebble beside it. No response. Then its body trembled, its legs folded, and the little red bird tipped into the water. The current carried it away, its feathers turning slowly between the stones until it disappeared around the bend. Marlin remained beside the creek, trying to convince herself there was a natural explanation. Illness, poison, an injured bird. But her grandmother's voice returned clearly in her memory. If the animals begin acting wrong, you leave. So Marlin left. She walked quickly, but forced herself not to run. Halfway back, she heard footsteps behind her. One step. Each time she took one. She stopped. The footsteps stopped. Marlin turned around. The trail was empty. She started walking again. The footsteps returned, closer this time. She remembered another rule. If you hear footsteps and there's nothing behind you, don't run. So she kept walking. Her hands trembled, her breathing quickened, but she did not run. Not until the cabin appeared through the trees. Once inside, Marlin locked the door, then checked it twice. There was no phone signal. The cabin's Wi-Fi refused to connect. She tried searching whether cardinals sometimes behaved strangely near water, but every page remained blank. Outside, the final light was fading. She went from window to window, closing each curtain. At the largest window, she paused. The valley below looked beautiful. Gold light rested between the mountains. The trees had become one enormous black shape, stretching toward the cabin. For a moment, Marlin thought she saw someone standing between two trunks. Tall, motionless, too far away to identify. She closed the curtain. Marlin turned on every lamp, poured a glass of wine, and selected a light comedy on Netflix. Something familiar. Something that didn't require concentration. She sat on the couch, trying to forget the bird, the footsteps, and the shadow among the trees. Then, her phone screen lit up. No signal, no message. Just the reflection of a tiny red light behind her. Marlin looked toward the window. There it was, a red point glowing through the narrow opening between the curtains. At first, she assumed it came from outside. A tower, a vehicle, maybe a reflection from inside the room. She stepped closer. The red point moved. Not across the glass, but downward. Marlin reached for the curtain, then froze. The light blinked. It wasn't a light. It was an eye. Marlin stumbled backward. The curtain fell closed. Something scraped softly against the glass. Not fingernails, something harder, like a branch being dragged slowly from one side to the other. Marlin grabbed her phone. Still no service. She moved toward the kitchen, looking for anything she could use to protect herself. Then she heard a voice outside. "Marlin!" Her entire body went cold. It was her grandmother's voice. Not similar, not close. Exact. Soft, with the same Appalachian accent she had slowly lost after decades in Wisconsin. "Marlin, open the curtain." Tears filled Marlin's eyes before she could stop them. Her grandmother had been dead for 6 months. The voice moved from the window toward the front door. "Sweetheart, I've been looking for you." 3 gentle knocks followed. Marlin covered her mouth. Her grandmother used to knock exactly that way. 2 quick taps, then 1 slow. "Open the door." Marlin almost moved. Grief did something dangerous in that moment. It made the impossible feel merciful. What if the mountains had somehow kept a piece of her? What if the stories were wrong? What if this was why her grandmother had always refused to return? Then Marlin remembered something else. Before entering the woods, prepare a word only you and the people you trust would know. Her grandmother had taught her that when she was little. Their word was bluebird. Marlin stood several feet from the door. "Grandma?" The scratching stopped. "Yes, honey." "What's our word?" Silence. Then, from the other side of the door, her grandmother began laughing. The laugh started quietly, then bent into something deeper. The voice changed with it. Her grandmother. A man. A crying child. Marlin's own voice. All layered together. "Let me in." The doorknob turned. Once. Twice. Then harder. Marlin looked down. The welcome mat was lying correctly outside. She had turned it upside down earlier. Now, somehow, the word welcome faced the door again. The voice whispered, "You invited me." Marlin backed into the kitchen. She remembered opening the windows when she arrived. Had she locked all of them? She checked the nearest one. Locked. Then the bathroom. Locked. The small bedroom. Locked. At the end of the hallway, the final window stood open by less than an inch. Just enough for cold air to enter. Marlin rushed toward it. Before she could reach the latch, something whistled from the darkness outside. The same song she had played in the car. Coat of many colours. Perfectly in tune. Then another whistle answered from the front of the cabin. Then another from the woods. Soon, the melody surrounded the house. Dozens of whistles, moving between the trees. Marlin slammed the window shut and locked it. The music stopped. For the next several hours, something circled the cabin. Sometimes it walked on 2 feet. Sometimes 4. Sometimes it dragged itself across the porch. It spoke in voices Marlin recognized. Her mother, her childhood best friend, a police officer claiming someone had reported trouble. Once, it used Marlin's own voice. "I'm inside already," it whispered from the bedroom. Marlin did not investigate. She stayed in the kitchen, holding a knife. All the lights switched on. Whenever the voice asked to enter, she remained silent. Whenever something scratched the glass, she looked at the floor. And when she heard her grandmother crying outside, she repeated the code word under her breath. Bluebird, bluebird, bluebird. Just before dawn, everything stopped. No footsteps, no voices, no whistling. Only the refrigerator humming, and Marlin's shallow breathing. Grey light appeared around the curtains. She waited another hour before moving, then another. Finally, she approached the front window. Every part of her grandmother's warning told her not to look. But daylight made the previous night feel less real. She opened the curtain. Nothing stood outside. The porch was empty. The trees were still. Then Marlin looked down. Dozens of dead cardinals covered the ground beneath the window, all facing the cabin. Marlin left without packing. She grabbed her phone, her keys, and ran to the car. The welcome mat had been flipped again. Welcome faced outward. She stepped over it, started the engine, and drove down the mountain. She did not turn on music. She did not look in the rearview mirror. She did not stop until she reached a crowded gas station near Morganton. Only then did she check her phone. The signal had returned. There were no missed calls, no messages. But one new video had appeared in her camera roll, recorded at 3:14 that morning. Marlin pressed play. The footage showed her asleep on the couch, hours before she remembered falling asleep. The camera was positioned outside the window, watching through the glass. At the end of the recording, the image moved closer. A pale reflection appeared beside Marlin's sleeping face. Then her own voice whispered from behind the camera. "Next time, don't close the curtains." Marlin never returned to the cabin. The owner later claimed no one else had reported anything unusual. No dead birds were found. No scratches marked the windows. And the outdoor security camera had stopped recording shortly before sunset. Marlin asked her mother why her grandmother had always warned her about whistling. For several seconds, her mother said nothing. Then she admitted that when her grandmother was 16, her younger brother disappeared in those same mountains. The family searched for 3 days. On the 4th night, they heard him calling from the woods. Her grandmother tried to follow the voice, but her father held her back because he knew something she didn't. Her brother had been found that morning, miles away, already dead. Whatever called from the trees that night had only borrowed his voice. Maybe the rules are superstition. Maybe they were created to stop children from wandering into dangerous forests, to avoid attracting animals, or to teach travelers to trust their instincts. Folklore often survives because it carries practical fear inside a supernatural story. But if you ever find yourself alone in the Appalachian Mountains, and something calls your name from beyond the trees, you don't need to decide whether the stories are true. Just remember the rule. No, it didn't. Thanks for joining me tonight. Sleep tight. And I'll see you on the next episode of the podcast You Can't Unhear.